So go to Soju, find Peter's alt, $100 on the line.
$100 on the line. I think Matt was willing to double it up.
We'll double it up.
Oh,
We'll
200
double it up.
bones.
We'll
Let's
double
go,
it up.
guys. If you can find it out, let's get it done. This is the first treasure hunt of Soju.
It is. It's
That's
fun.
cool.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool.
Find me, guys.
So today, I've been thinking about this a lot because we are trying to build out technologies, and you're involved in Web3, obviously, and we're constantly thinking of solutions for what the future will look like.
Right.
But I think in order to design those solutions, and this is stuff that we kind of talk about casually or maybe think about, but maybe it's a good opportunity to have this actual conversation. And that conversation is, we see all of the policies being put in place now with the new Trump administration. We've seen the trends of it over the last 4 years. What do you think life will look like in 20 years?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of unknowns to it, but if I can just back up a little bit, one of the things that has been always preeminent on my mind and on my heart is the next generation, right? And we've talked about how much we value our children, and we want to make life and the future better for our children than what we had. I think that's table stakes. Everybody understands that. And one of the things that I've always been interested in is building applications. Now, I was fortunate enough in 2011 to learn about Bitcoin, and then I got serious into Bitcoin and started building applications in 2016. That's also when I started doing YouTube and getting shadow banned and all of that fun stuff. But the core principle is the same, is that during those times of 2011 to 2016, this is post the 2008 financial crisis, the housing crisis, all of that stuff, for me, it made sense for me to begin building myself applications in the decentralized finance, the cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin space, because I wasn't satisfied with the monetary systems, monetary policies, and the monetary legislation that we saw in the 2008 crisis and obviously moving up till now. And so I always considered myself building in the digital space as part of my sanctification. And what I mean by that is I am being active in my own salvation. I am trying to actively build better systems, products, platforms, technologies, and tools so that potentially my children would be able to use better financial instruments, better tools, and better products that would make their life better. And so that's always been my kind of driver.
Just a quick break before this video continues. If you haven't signed up for Soju yet, go check it out, soj.oo. It's a social discussion platform that we've created. That's where the community is hanging out. Definitely worth checking out, soj.oo. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, do it now.
It's like, I don't see the right applications being built out there right now. So instead, I'll either invest in ones that are good or build it myself. And I think, if I may, as bringing this context to bear here, I think that's what you've done with Soju, right? We've traversed this for about 3 years now, and it's about time for us to be assertive around building our own things. And so if I can just add some potatoes to the pot here, it would simply be, do I know what's going to happen in 20 years? No, I think we're going to talk about what we could potentially do to prepare for that. But I think one big aspect is be active in your own salvation, right? Save yourself. Who's coming to save you, Matt?
Ain't no one coming to save you.
We know this to be true. Ain't nobody coming to save you. So in many cases, you have to take personal responsibility for your own life. And I think that's probably going to be a big theme of what we talk about today.
Well, you touched on it briefly, so I want to just throw this out there first. Trump just announced that he is going to have a Bitcoin reserve.
Yes, it's going to include other things too.
It's going to include other things. And it's interesting that he tweeted the other things first.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's going to be a Bitcoin reserve and then include some other things. I don't know why he...
Can I change the language he said?
Way?
Because the tweet actually said crypto reserve, not Bitcoin reserve.
He did, but I think...
But later he said, I do love Bitcoin and Ethereum.
And then Henry Lundwick, which is a new commerce secretary, I think he came out today and he was like, it's a Bitcoin reserve.
Oh, okay.
And then we're going to have other things involved.
Okay. Like Solana, XRP, Cardano, ADA.
Yeah, and all of that went crazy that day, and then within 24 hours, it just
it was a 10,000.
It just retracted.
It was a 10,000 movement upwards, and then a 10,000 move retracement. Yes.
And we're just back to where we started.
Yep, in the 80s, high 80s.
So, I've been thinking about this Bitcoin thing because Bitcoin started with this idea that And I don't think that the CIA, I'm not in the camp of thinking that the CIA started Bitcoin. I'm in the camp of thinking that someone actually started Bitcoin. And it was like either one or a group of cryptographers that started it. And maybe a couple years in, they're like, we need this. We should get involved. And maybe they start infiltrating. I'm more in that camp.
Yep.
So it was created to be a freedom tool, really.
Yes.
It was supposed to free you from the existing system of banking.
Yes.
That was the goal of Bitcoin.
Yes.
And they, over the years, they have tried to make it collapse.
Yes.
They did not want Bitcoin to succeed.
No, because it's not owned by a nation state. It's not owned by an individual. It's owned by the people.
But right now, they kind of have control of it.
From a majority hash rate, yes.
But I think the real story there for Bitcoin is not how they co-opted it and stole it and hijacked it. I think the real story that no one wants to discuss is that a group of people that were noticing and questioning society and felt like the system was broken, they created a technology and they couldn't actually delete the technology. They would have preferred if it went away forever.
In some cases, yes.
But the governments of the world were like, we can't shake this thing. We have to go get involved. And I think it shows that if you build out something purposely and with intent, that even though they may steal it from you, they can't delete it. The tools and the premise of why Bitcoin created exists and it will forever exist.
Yes.
And it's proof that the people can actually make a difference.
Yes.
That is the most encouraging part of the Bitcoin story. Not that obviously they've co-opted, they stole it, they manipulate it, they like pump and dump it whenever they want. I get it. But they couldn't delete it and ignore it.
They cannot remove the initial philosophical reasons and rationale as to why it was created, number one. And number two, they cannot delete it because it is not owned by a centralized authority. And that chafes a lot of people in power.
Again, they may have taken control of it now, but it's proof to the world that you can actually force them to adjust to you and that you don't have to constantly adjust to them.
Yes, and I think part of the power there behind Bitcoin is, once again, you can add pressure. You can put your thumb on a person and say, like Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum. You could put your pressure on a Vitalik and say, hey, I need you to make sure you do X, Y, and Z. But Bitcoin doesn't have an owner, and so you can't put your thumb on someone and pressure them. What you can do, you use the word co-op, I think that might be a little aggressive. I would say they have engaged heavily in the Bitcoin ecosystem so that not only can they participate in it, number one, but number two, that they can help guide it to their designed intent. And I think that's where it really sits, is that we have the BlackRocks, your State Streets, your big Bank of Americas. You have all these institutions that are now jumping into Bitcoin, which is great because it's going to even deeper entrench it. However, since they have deep pockets, they can, I'll use this word, manipulate it and move it towards their designs. And that's just part of the equation.
Thanks for watching the clip. If you want to see the full episode, click here. If you want to see more clips, click here.